Good morning, everyone. I will be presenting my research on the impact of social media influencer marketing on consumer purchase intention. The introduction. With the rise of platforms such as TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, social media has dramatically transformed the way businesses market their products. Influencers are not just content creators, they are opinion leaders who are able to shape consumer attitudes and behaviors. Unlike traditional advertising, such as TV commercials or billboards, influencers communicate in a more relatable and interactive way. For example, when an influencer shares a product review in a casual, everyday setting like unboxing a skincare product at home or trying on new clothes, it feels more authentic and trustworthy. This makes followers more likely to pay attention and even consider making a purchase. Therefore, the influence of social media marketing is not just about visibility, but about building trust, authenticity, and emotional connections with the audience. And the background of study. Digital marketing is expanding worldwide, and Malaysia is no exception. In fact, Malaysia has one of the highest social media penetration rates in Southeast Asia. Research shows that almost half of Malaysian consumers have purchased the products because of influencer recommendations. This statistic reflects that growing power of influencer marketing. The unique strength of influencers lies in the way they communicate. Unlike traditional marketing channels such as billboards or TV ads, which are often one-directional and impersonal, social media content feels personal and interactive. Followers can comment, ask questions, and even engage in direct conversations with influencers. This interaction builds a sense of credibility and trust, which is why businesses are investing heavily in influencer partnerships across industries such as beauty, fashion, food and beverages, and even technology. The popular statement. However, despite its popularity, influencer marketing faces several challenges. One major issue is the blurred line between genuine openings and paid promotions. For instance, when influencers are sponsored to promote a product, consumers may wonder, are they truly recommending it, or are they just being paid to say good things? Some consumers place a lot of trust in influencers, treating them like friends, but others are more skeptical, questioning the honesty and authenticity of influencer endorsements. Beyond that, there are concerns about privacy, as consumers are exposed to targeted ads based on their personal data. Information overload is another problem. People may feel overwhelmed by the constant flow of influencer content. Additionally, when influencers become too commercialized, their content may lose authenticity, which can reduce effectiveness. These challenges make influencer marketing a controversial but fascinating research topic. And the research objective and questions. This research aims to address these gaps by focusing on four main objectives: The first, to examine influencer credibility. Second, to study content authentically. Third, to investigate influencer brand congruence. Fourth, to evaluate their overall impact on consumer purchase intentions. The research also seeks to answer key questions such as: how does influencer credibility affect consumer purchase decisions? Does authenticity play a role in building trust and increasing purchase intention? Does influencer brand fit really matter in shaping consumer attitudes? And finally, how does influencer marketing as a whole shape the way consumers think about the interact with products? And the hypothesis. Based on these objectives, I propose 4 hypotheses. First, influencer credibility positively influences purchase intention. When an influencer is seen as knowledgeable and trustworthy, their followers are more likely to be pursued. Second, authentic content increases consumer trust and purchase intention. Consumers tend to favor influencers who share honestly reviews, personal experiences, and relatable stories. Third, congruence between influencer and brand enhances persuasion. If an influencer who is known for fitness endorses sportswear, or a beauty influencer promotes skincare products, the message feels natural and believable. Finally, influencer marketing has a broader effect on shaping consumers' overall attitudes towards products. In other words, it doesn't just lead to one-time purchases, but it can also build long-term brand perception. And theoretic framework. My study applies 2 main theories. The first is the source credibility theory, which suggests that persuasiveness depends on 3 qualities: trustworthiness, expertise, and attractiveness. These factors help explain why some influencers are more effective than others. The second is the theory of planned behavior, which highlights how attitude, social influence, and perceived behavior come to shape consumer intentions. This theory is especially useful in understanding why followers take action after seeing influencer content. Together, these theories provide a strong foundation to analyze how influencer characteristics influence consumer purchase intention in Malaysia. And existing research highlights credibility and authenticity as control to influencer effectiveness. Millions credibility model shows that expertise and trustworthiness drive persuasion. In addition, the concepts of parasocial relationships, where followers feel like they have a personal connection with influencers, plays an important role. The sense of familiarity makes consumers more likely to trust recommendations and eventually purchase products. Essentially, followers may feel as if the influence is a friend giving advice, which strengthens the persuasive power of influencer marketing. And literary review supporting theories beyond influencers practice. Several supporting theories help explain consumers' behavior online. The theory of planned behavior suggests that consumers like to role models, including influencers, when forming purchase intentions. The concept of cognitive overload warns that when consumers are exposed to too much influencer content, they may feel fatigued or less responsive. And conceptual framework. My conceptual framework brings these elements together. It identifies 3 independent variables: credibility, authenticity, and influencer brand congruence, and one dependent variable, which is consumer purchase intention, and the significance of study. This study has significance for several groups. For businesses, the findings can guide companies in choosing the right influences and investing their marketing budgets more effectively. For consumers, the study helps raise awareness about how influencer marketing works so they can better recognize when content is genuine or overly commercial. For academia, the research contributes by offering a Malaysia perspective, which adds diversity to global studies on influencer marketing. And finally, for policymakers, this study highlights the importance of transparency in influencer promotions, which may be useful in shaping future regulations to protect consumers. Altogether, this research does not only provide academic value but also practical implications for society, business, and governance. And research approach. This study adopts a quantitative research method using a questionnaire survey to collect data. This approach allows for a more objective measurement of the relationship between influencer characteristics and consumers' purchase intention, and it is suitable for hypothesis testing to obtain generalizable conclusions. And the research design. This research design is a cross-sectional survey, meaning that data is collected at a single point in time. The target respondents are Malaysia consumers aged 18 to 40 who are active on platforms such as Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. The study covers multiple industries, including beauty, fashion, food, and beverages, and technology products. Then is the questionnaire. First, let me introduce the demography section of the questionnaire. The part is designed to collect basic information about respondents, including gender, age, and the social media platforms they use most frequently. By gathering their data, we can better understand the background of our sample group. For example, identifying which age group is most active on Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube allow us to analyze whether different demographics respond differently to influencer marketing. The section is not about testing hypotheses, but it gives us important content for interpreting later results. And this is part B and part C. And there are my references. That's all. Thank you.